Over the last couple of weeks, the internet has finally decided that Arc Raiders is now dead.
Arc Raiders is dead. I said Arc Raiders was going to die 3 months after it came out, and everyone called me an idiot.
Here are the top 5 things that killed Arc Raiders. Arc Raiders went from one of the biggest games on Twitch to falling off fast.
If you scroll through any sort of social media, creators are pointing to the Steam charts as that definitive proof that the game is in absolute trouble. But when I actually stopped looking at all that hype and talk and started looking at the real data, something didn't really add up.
What's up, guys? I just want a minute of your time. I was a former Arc Raiders player. I have hundreds of hours topside. I just want to address the delusional shit that's going on right now. People like to act like it's not dying and that all games lose players. I just want to point something out. It is currently 6:20 on a Saturday night. Arc Raiders is currently number 18 on the top list with only 59,000 players. Game fell off, guys. Embark fucked up the updates. They didn't do a good job listening to their players, and the game fell off. It's time to finally admit it.
I'm sorry. Who's that back there? What the heck are you talking about?
So is Arc Raiders actually dying, or are people only looking at half the picture? I want to talk about it today. Now look, to be entirely fair, it is easy to see why people are worried. Every major multiplayer launch follows, kind of a similar pattern. There's a massive peak during the launch week, followed by a steady drop-off as the casual players move on to the next big thing, and Arc Raiders is no exception to that. We've seen the Steam player peak decline, Twitch kind of viewership settle down as major big kind of live streamers have dropped off the game, and then maybe even some of your own friends have stopped logging in every night. These aren't completely unreasonable concerns. If Steam was the only platform on Earth, you'd look at these charts and think the game itself was on absolute life support. The problem with all of this is that modern gaming commentators and content creators love to look at a Steam chart and pretend that they're looking at the entire universe and player base. They completely ignore the console market. Arc Raiders is a fully cross-platform game. And if you go as far as looking at extraction shooters that have come to console and you look back, we have got far and few in between solid extraction games that ever hit the console player base. If you actually combine both the platforms of PC and console, you would have close to 1 million players easily every week. And in no means does that mean that the game is dying. Now, before you jump in that comment section and jump down my throat, before you attack me, look, let's forget about those spreadsheets. Let's forget about all them numbers just for a minute. I myself as a player have put over 500 hours into this game, and the actual player experience I feel tells the real story. And I'm not going to sit here and sing its praises. Like, I'll be the first to admit that this game is not what it was when it released probably around 6 months ago now. The matchmaking queues have gotten a little slower, the lobbies are a lot more sweatier, the encounters are even more action-packed, and now that Embark have moved updating this game biannually every 6 months, it's thrown a lot more questions into the mix rather than answers that everyone's looking for currently. Now look, everybody's going to have their own opinions, everybody's going to feel different. At the end of the day, no single person or everyone is going to be happy. Everyone's going to have their own differences, what they want, what they don't want. Everybody's different at the end of the day. That's just what it is. That's been gaming since the very start. There's certain games you love, there's certain games you hate. One game that you hate, another person might love. It's how it is. But there's still something about this game that manages to drag me back on almost every single night and just jumping in for a few raids. I don't know what it is. From a more personal level, I think it's because I have craved an extraction game for so long to be this good on console, not having a PC. I know I talked about earlier, on console, we've had very few extraction games come to console, and the very few that have, for example, there's some that I haven't really enjoyed. Delta Force was a big one. I played a little bit of it, didn't really enjoy it all that much. Obviously, you've got Hunt Showdown. I've downloaded that game probably 2, 3, maybe even 4 times and tried my hardest to get into that, but it is just not for me. I've never enjoyed it. And then off the top of my head, the only other one I can think of was Vigor, I'm not sure how to pronounce it. Same creators as DayZ, I believe, Bohemia Interactive, but again, man, that just game wasn't shown enough love. We have had absolutely nothing decent on console when it comes to the extraction genre. And then, man, when this game got announced and I got to play that second tech test, I was absolutely fucking hooked straight from the get-go. It was like a drug. It was insane. I can't even explain the things I was feeling playing this game for the very first time. I could honestly sit here and make a 20-30 minute video of everything that I love about this game, and not everyone would want to sit and listen to me ramble on about that that rubbish because people would disagree, and there's nothing wrong with that. The thing that just frustrates me the most about all of this is when I keep seeing, like I said at the start of the video, the past few weeks, this narrative getting thrown around, the game's dying, the game's dead, big streamers have left the game, they're no longer playing it, when in reality, man, this game still has a pretty healthy player base. But look, as I said, this is no mean, it's not a perfect game. I feel like the biggest thing holding down Arc Raiders at the moment, two things. One I don't really care about, which is player versus environment. There have been so many people that have been screaming out for a PvE mode. Frankly, to me, I could not care less about PvE. But I'm not going to sit here and go tell you to go play a PvE game because that's not what Arc Raiders is. I'm honestly behind the PvE players, give them what they want, and I'm sure Embark will. If it means more players coming back, more players spending money on the game, I can almost guarantee that they will add a PvE mode sometime in the future. Now look, I don't believe in this game dying, but this next thing I'm talking about, I can dead set easily see this killing the game and really dwindling the player numbers in the next year or two if this is something they really don't fix and work on in the next upcoming few updates. I'm talking about the loot pool. Bro, I don't know how to explain it. The loot in this game, take weapons completely out of it. The lootable items that you find in the wild on a raid, more than half, I would even go as far as saying probably 70 to 80% of lootable items in this game, they just feel all useless. They literally it feels like they have no means for anything. Besides when you do an expedition, you're leveling up your benches, but once your benches are max level, it's almost kind of useless, all the lootable items that you find on a raid. Like at the start, it was exciting, it was fun. Everybody didn't know what the fuck anything did, all the items. You were just picking up everything because you were unsure of what it could do or how much value it really had. But man, after 50 or so hours, you start really realizing that, bro, more than half of the shit that you loot, it's useless. There's no use to any of it. Like I said, completely take weapons and attachments out. When it just comes to the general fucking core of this game of what an extraction shooter is when you loot around, it feels, honestly, it's so frustrating. It just needs more love. I don't know how they honestly fix it. I don't know if they do a massive revamp of it. I don't know if if it's something that they're focusing on, hopefully this next update or two that's coming around. But at the end of the day, man, the loot in this game, it needs more love. It seriously does. It just feels like every time you're on a raid, bro, half the shit that you're finding, you're just not picking up. There's even so many blue items in that, if they're not little treasures that you sell, bro, they're just useless. You just leave them because there's almost no use for half of the shit. I want to know your thoughts though in the comments below. Do you think the game's actually on its last legs, or are people just jumping the gun because they can't read a simple console chart? Appreciate you guys as always, and I'll see you in the next one.